Qual, Lamb, Paul. Three of a generation known as the Lost Boys of Sudan. It was the name given to more than 20,000 children who fled a long and brutal civil war. Some were as young as 7, forced to walk over 1,000 miles to safety. Their epic, perilous journey began over 25 years ago. It's taken some of them to the other side of the world. Now they're coming home. They'll arrive at an historic moment. The war is over and the Republic of South Sudan is about to be born. For Qual, it's an intensely personal journey in search of long-lost family and his parents' graves. Lamb's struggle is to reconcile childhood traumas and to rebuild a new country against the odds.
Where is the rest of the team? Tell them to go to Nyakure and tell them to go to Nyakure.
Paul's mission is to find a role in the new nation and win his countrymen's respect. For the Lost Boys, the birth of their nation offers a chance to find peace and a place to call home, if they can. Civil war in Sudan began between the Muslim North and mainly Christian South in the early 1980s. In November 1987, the fighting reached Kualawan's village. Arab raiding parties began burning homes, stealing cattle, and slaughtering all in their path. He was then 8 years old, tending his family's herd.
Coming back home with the cows, we hear the sound of the gun coming out of the village. The sound intensified, so we dropped the cows and then we start running.
Qual joined hundreds of other children in a remarkable exodus towards Ethiopia and, they thought, safety.
Well, it's about 1,000 miles from here. And the walk was difficult because, number one, we didn't know where we were going. Number two, there was no food, there was no water. Hyena can be around close here, lions. So a lot of people get killed and eaten by the animal. And being a young kid, it was not that good. I thought it would be like overnight thing and then we come back. But the day kind of grow, like some of the kids kind of lost hope. But I was one of those people who think there will be a day that we can go back home.
Qual's journey would take him thousands of miles away to a strange and foreign land. After more than 10 years living in squalid refugee camps, Qual and nearly 4,000 Lost Boys were offered a new home in the United States. He's created a new life for himself in a land of plenty. Now the 32-year-old has a young family of his own. He's a university graduate in psychology and is studying for an MA. The proud owner of a house and 2 cars, he's come a long way from herding cattle and the family he left behind in Africa. But for Qual, the past is never far away, even here. He manages the Arizona Lost Boys Center. With 600 members, it's the largest of its kind in America.
On the wall, you kind of see the history of the Lost Boys. So it started with Sudan over there, from Sudan to Ethiopia. And then in 91, when Ethiopia had their civil war, we went back to Sudan. We stayed in Sudan for a while. And then we crossed Sudan to Kenya. And then we stayed in a refugee camp in Kenya, camp called Kekuma, for almost 9 years. And then in 2000 and 2001, then that's when we started coming to the United States.
At the center, Qual helps his countrymen come to terms with a very different culture and society. For many, it has been far from easy.
So here we call it Wall of Fame, but what it is actually is where the life history is being displayed. People write their life story, and that's a way of recovering and getting over what happened to them. Because it's part of the Lost Boys struggle today is 10 years ago, you were running away from the guns. Now you are in America and you try to regroup and make your life better, but you are leaving the past.
Some lost boys were so young when they first fled, they didn't know which village they came from, or even their parents' names. Recently uncovered documents have helped to piece together their histories. Last year, interviews and photographs taken in the 1980s were found and made available online. Among them were Qual's.
So the first thing when I look at it, I saw my picture there and I wouldn't even believe it was me. I show it to my wife and my son, but I think it has a big meaning because for the last 10 years, we try to explain our history to the people who don't know what it was. And sometimes people will question, really? Did this happen? But when you have this document in hand, it kind of put the closing on that, saying that, this is the history of what I went through.
Qual has been trying to track down the boys whose records have emerged, but he is learning many are still missing. Even after reaching the apparent safety of refugee camps, disease, war and starvation still claim the lives of thousands. Of the original 20,000 plus lost boys, less than half have been accounted for. The rest are presumed dead.
How long shall we be away from our now, as our hope and dreams seem promising for a while?
Lam Tungwa is one of South Sudan's biggest pop stars.
After which quiet will be the rank and file.
As well as being a lost boy, he also fought in the war as a child soldier. Aged just 7, he was recruited into the Sudanese People's Liberation Army, the SPLA.
I was then a little young guy. We were hitting cows and other things. A group of soldiers show up, and it was very attractive when you see a guy with a gun by then, in uniforms, those SPLA whole uniform. It's very attractive because we have been taught having a gun, you're like a Superman. You're powerful. You're beyond something.
Promising the child soldiers an education, the SPLA were never short of young volunteers.
So when these guys arrive, they actually tell the kids that who want to go to school, and then a number raise their hand up. Who want to be pilots, we are here. Who want to be doctors, we are here. Who want to be soldiers, we are here. Okay, fine. Now you can come with us. We are going somewhere very far, and you're going to have all the education you want. And I joined the group, and we started marching.
Thousands of children were recruited by both sides into a war few of them understood. A fundamentalist Muslim government was intent on extending its power over the largely Christian territories of the south, threatening to impose Sharia law. But war was also the premise for a land grab of southern territories rich in minerals and oil.
I didn't know why I was fighting. And I used to ask myself, why are we in this situation? But nobody could answer me. Neither of the children or the boys who are with me, they couldn't give me an answer.
In one notorious incident, Lam witnessed hundreds of children perishing.
There's a very big river called River Gilo. I cannot cross River Gilo. A soldier with a gun cannot cross. Why? Because the water, once you touch it with your leg, it takes you away. And that is the first time I've seen a lot of guys dying just random. Because there's a lot of shooting around, the guys are running, people jump into the river. Some are jumping on the body of others to swim them on the other side. They die, both of them. Close friend that I know, when you lose them, you don't see them again. So I really miss totally my childhood. I learned different lessons. A lesson of war, a lesson of death, a lesson of killing people.
Scattered around the world, some lost boys ended up in the most unlikely places. About 150 live in the home of country music, among them Paul Maniok.
How y'all doing?
With his trademark suit and tie, he's worked hard to reinvent himself. But Paul is still haunted by the memories of when his village was attacked.
The time they came, they burned houses. A lot of my relatives were killed. Some who were in the military and some who are not in the military. People are running like crazy. You hear people crying everywhere. And it became a disaster. You hear women, Mandio, Mandio, it's like, my child, my child, my child. And when we hear a sound of plane, that's a sign of danger. We start running.
Nashville also has a community centre for lost boys. Like Qual, Paul is intent on keeping their history and culture alive.
And there are a lot of languages in Sudan. 99 different tribes, Dinka, Nuer. Right.
Today he is hosting some local children and raising funds for his return to Sudan.
The president is from Dinka and the vice president is from Nuer. This is hello in Dinka.
With a college education to pay for and a family to support, Paul is not yet certain he can afford the journey back to Sudan in time for independence.
You have just learned Mala, right? Awesome. In the hospital, I do transportation. I transport patients, from one location to another for testing, MRI, CAT scan. Cows are very special in Sudan. They are used for many things. They are used for dowry, for prestige as well, right? I also work in the cafeteria making smoothies, in the cafeteria. I also work at Donut then as a salesperson.
Having been granted US citizenship when he arrived, Paul is uncertain where to call home now.
I feel I'm both American and Sudanese. There are some of the American culture that I've adopted that is mine. There's also some of the Sudanese culture that's also mine. So I could say I'm a global figure where I could fit anywhere in the world.
Paul badly wants to return to his homeland in time for Independence Day. Whether or not he can find a role in the new nation is far from certain. The country he remembers as a child is much changed.
Makita Radio, the voices and music of Africa.
July 9th, 2011 is Independence Day, when the eyes of the world will be on the capital of the new nation. This is where every southern Sudanese wants to be.
How does it feel to be here in Sudan? Well, I think it's great. It's home, so I feel good. Very excited to be here. Welcome.
Qual's older brother, Atem, is a colonel in the SPLA, a veteran of over 20 years of war. He didn't have a choice of leaving Sudan and spent his formative years on the front line.
How are you? Welcome to Hot Plate.
Ardora is hotter than this.
Along with hundreds of foreign dignitaries arriving for Independence Day, Qual's first impression of the new country is a construction site. The new arrivals hall is due to be complete by July 9th, less than a fortnight away. Since the end of the war in 2005, international aid has flooded into Juba. The authorities claim this is currently the fastest growing city in the world. Qual has heard many reports of a boom time but he can see the city still needs time before it fully functions.
Well, they just started, so we don't expect them to be like UK or New York or Phoenix or wherever that. So it will take time, you know, development take a lot of time. And as long as there is peace in place, I think the building will come in place.
Time is the one thing Lam Tungwa is short of. He is responsible for all the cultural events celebrating independence. His extraordinary story from boy soldier to rock star makes him a hero in the eyes of many.
Welcome. Tomorrow we have a rehearsal, I think you are told. So we have to see what we can do.
But what he has taken on here is his biggest challenge yet.
We never have an event like that. Getting to the 9 is like you dream about it. How will it turn out? What will happen, you know?
In a few days' time, thousands of people will be arriving here.
Venye hizi ziko hapa mazee.
Sasa Roy ananiambia ukibomoa hizi peleke huko mbele.
Si hiyo itaanguka ukibomoa.
It's hectic. We had almost 3 weeks sleepless night and many meetings that end up to a late hour. Another problem I have is that anything that I tell to somebody to do, if I assign you a job and I have to see it. And I think when people see me, they find that I'm too busy because I have to supervise everything. I need to see how it goes, the way I say it.
We're expecting more than 20 to 10,000 people to come in this open air. So all this place will be doing a lot of stuff in the next few days, building up to the independent. People ask the same question, are you guys ready? Is this thing happening for real? Are you going to meet the deadline? Because today is the 30. That means we only have like 7 days or 8 days to go. Everything will be ready, so people shouldn't panic. So I'm quite sure there are a lot of challenges in between, but we will meet them and we'll make sure they work out.
For all the returning Lost Boys, coming home brings mixed emotions. Despite the hardships they experienced, many feel guilty they escaped active service in the war. For Kwal, veteran soldiers like his brother won a nation's freedom the hard way.
You are the best. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. You know, people talk about the war that had been fought for the last 22 years, so they were the fighters. So, you know, for somebody like me to see them today, you know, a lot of them, people didn't make it through it. But, you know, God saved them and they made it. And here they are.
Of course, when he went out as a young boy. Yeah. Now he has grown up with the nation and he's coming.
Yeah,
it's very nice.
Kwal's brother was a war hero. He spent years fighting alongside rebel leader Salva Kiir, soon to be sworn in as the first president of an independent South Sudan.
Anh chỉ lэр trong quan cho có dù giá cha cái lэр trong có dù giá cha cái nét niệm có dù giá cái ảo cũng so cái này trong anh nghe cho biết coi cái đi now yêu của lúa là cái nên million nus anh chỉ trong nhảy but adit anh là về adiak or ngoan.
Years spent waging a guerrilla war in the bush denied officers like Atem the sort of education enjoyed by his brother.
Yeah.
Now the veterans are looking forward to enjoying the dividends of peace.
So tin kau kuma li ka ciran benen ka tuat. But tinangan aya ngi inu wo ko wantar wo benang run ke tero. Run ke tediak ku je ko jo ko ben gambai jo ben gambai ba run ke tediak. Cuman ko labia de abelu ya American embassy bi ke lui tin achi bo ben ke banya nin ga. Mana bung ngor ke be lui.
Paul is so desperate to return in time for Independence Day, he's decided to buy a ticket to Sudan on his credit card. The donut and smoothie salesman is returning with a mission. With his degree in political science and Bible studies, Paul believes he has what it takes to become part of the new political elite.
I would love to, transfer the skills, knowledge, values, and attitude that I've learned in peace building and conflict resolution. And if the government of Southern Sudan is there and want me to help, that would be great. Some of my friends say that I'm blessed with interpersonal skills, and if that is the case, then that could work as well. And I think with that, I can bring some respect to Southern Sudan, a young nation. And of course, a young nation will require young leaders that might help the generation that have sacrificed so much.
The new parade ground, the centrepiece for Independence Day, is a long way from being completed. With just 8 days to go, the former guerrilla fighters of the SPLA are rehearsing. With little experience of ceremonial parades, they've enrolled officers of the Kenyan army to lick them into shape.
And the security need to be very, very, very focused. Very. Anybody who is getting in the hole here, in the venue, have to be checked, must be protected. They have to check them, they have to sight them. Something like that, that will help us. Because an event like this is a very big event.
Lam's uncle is the former rebel leader and current vice president, Riek Machar, who arrived to check up on progress.
Hey, how are you? Wait.
Yes, sir.
Salam.
Free at last.
Free at last.
Yes.
South Sudan's government has yet to be elected, but the former warlords of the Liberation Army still have a firm grip on power. Whether they have the credentials to lead the country in peacetime remains to be seen.
We're waiting for the birth of our nation. The whole world will be here and they want to see us. We're going to be a failed state, or will we be a good example for the rest of the African country? And I'm sure we will achieve that. We will be one of the best. Maybe we'll be the food basket of Africa, or maybe we'll be the good example for the democracy in Africa.
Are you ready? Oh yes. Physically, mentally ready.
Despite widespread optimism, lasting peace is far from guaranteed here. The threat from the north is clear and present. With days to go before the south becomes independent, reports are coming into Juba that just 400 miles north, fighting has broken out for control of contested border areas and oil fields. It's in direct contravention of the 2005 peace agreement, when both sides agreed to demobilize 90,000 soldiers, over half of South Sudan's army. But neither regime has met these promises. With 160,000 soldiers still on the government's payroll, this is a country more prepared for war than peace. Paul has finally made it, after a 22-hour journey via Ethiopia. In his mission to find a role in the new government, he's brought with him a secret weapon, a gift for the president.
How does it feel to be home, Paul?
Very happy, very excited, glad to be home.
But his trip gets off to a bad start.
I lost my bags. They are in the transit, probably in Addis Ababa. Everything is there. I probably gotta look for something to change in. I don't know where. Maybe go to the military headquarters and maybe get some military uniform.
When he tries to check in, Paul faces another setback.
You need to stay here?
Yes, that's what they say.
Okay, you are from Minister of Housing, right? Minister of Housing or President?
I came from the United States.
Okay.
This is one of the best hotels in Juba and appears to be fully booked with government officials.
It hasn't been that easy trip. I pretty much have the clothes that I was wearing on Monday, and it's now Wednesday, so I don't know how long I'm gonna wear them.
It takes him an hour, but finally the hospital porter from Nashville is found a room.
Very nice.
And a superior one at that.
It's special for VIPs, like Paul.
Really?
Yes.
Message for the celebration of South Sudan's independence 2011. July the 9th, 2011 marks the end of marginalization and oppression and is the beginning of true justice, liberty, peace and prosperity for all the people of South Sudan.
Don't send some of them to Khartoum.
No, T-shirt them out now.
Understaffed and underfunded, Lam and his team are struggling with the workload.
It's very hectic, I know.
You should have first aid. First aid.
You take any money from that 500,000 which was there or something?
He's managing everything on a shoestring. Every T-shirt has to be accounted for.
You know, 5 only. You took a lot of T-shirts.
No, we didn't.
No, you take 10.
You
okay, you take 10, okay?
What do you mean by 10?
But this guy, I've been working with them since morning. I have to pay them.
Honestly, I don't have 200. I can't do anything right now, I'm sorry.
We don't have space, bro. I give you
the Meeting finished.
Lam is expected to put on a show for thousands of people, but he can't even feed his workers or provide them with basic tools for the job.
I'm going to go to the meeting right now.
It's actually 7.
It is more frustrating than ever. Because here, everything is outsourced from everywhere. These things are being sent from abroad. What? We don't have anything here. There's no big shopping mall or wherever you can get everything around now. You have to get them in Uganda, and if things are lacking, it's difficult to get them. So it's extremely hard.
You go to the minister's meeting.
Kwal too is finding it difficult to source supplies. He's getting ready to make the 10-hour journey back to his village.
Because tomorrow, when I arrive home, there will be a lot of people that will come home to come and greet me. So I want to help my family to also, so that they can be able to entertain others that will come and be part of the event. So that's why I'm shopping.
It's a long way from the shopping malls of Phoenix. The irony is that even in Juba's markets, Kwal has to buy food apparently from the United States.
So 12 become 135. I think let's take 4. 4. Iran.
One of the key problems faced by South Sudan is the country's dependence on food aid. Despite having substantial natural resources, aid organizations fed about half the population last year, or some 4 million people.
Let's join, we celebrate independence. Let's join, we celebrate independence.
That's true.
Let's join, we celebrate independence. Let's join, we celebrate independence. Let's join, we celebrate independence. That's young. Let's join, we celebrate independence.
It's 3 days since he arrived, and Paul is getting impatient.
Went to Juba airport and claimed my bag the second time. It looked like there's none available, so I actually took these clothes, took them off this morning and talked someone into washing them.
Paul has another challenge. He hasn't brought enough cash with him, and expects South Sudan to have the same banking facilities as in the US.
I haven't found a working ATM yet. If there are some working ATM, then there are very few, and I really don't know where they are. I got to do some homework, finding out from people who have been here a little longer than I am. So yes, it's going to be a little interesting, and yeah.
And it's been 24 years since I left that home, so it's going to be exciting at the same time emotional, because I don't know how it will feel being home again. See the land and people. There are generations that were born when I was gone.
When Kwal first ran away from his village as an 8-year-old boy, he walked for over a month on roads like these, evading enemy planes, wild beasts, and landmines. Even now, security is a major concern. In a country the size of France, there are only about 40 miles of tarmac roads. Bandits set up roadblocks to rob people. An armed escort is essential.
For the safety, we have to have a gun. So James is carrying a gun to guide as a security. At the same time, James is my cousin. He's now in the police here.
Outside Juba, the contrasts become apparent very soon. 90% of the population is illiterate. And a 15-year-old girl here has more chance of dying in childbirth than completing school. Tribes like these were decimated during the war with the North, but now the main threat to their security is intertribal conflict. This could prove to be the greatest danger to South Sudan's future. An hour later, just how volatile the situation is becomes clear.
It's a small tribal fight down there, so clan fight. You see people with a stick?
Here, just one soldier with a machete is the difference between order and bloodshed. As more armed men arrive, Kwal and his cousins decide to move on quickly. 200 miles north of Juba, Boertown was the birthplace of the rebellion against North Sudan in the 1980s. It is now home to lost boy Manyang Jok. 2 years ago, he gave up a comfortable home and secure job in the United States to help rebuild his country.
There's no air condition, there's no running water, and there's no good health, like good sanitation.
Manyang has first-hand knowledge of Sudan's tribal conflicts. He monitors the daily incidents of violence in the country's largest state, Jonglei. With a ship's container for an office, his job is to count the bodies.
Some days can be 100, other day can be 50. Find bodies laying or littering on the street, not buried, naked bodies of either attackers or those who are attacked. It's very, very bad to see. And cattle wrestling, it can be 200 to 500 cows wrestled in one day.
But there is another, more sinister aspect to ethnic conflict among some tribes. Even today, children are still victims of the cycle of violence.
It's not all the tribe that abduct children, but Murale, Murle have a culture of selling child to those who happen to have no children. So they use child abduction for business.
Manyang is realistic about resolving tribal disputes that have been going on for centuries.
Independent alone cannot do anything. We just need a mental change from those who just come from the war. We also need the involvement of the entire world to bring education to Southern Sudan. So independent alone cannot change this one.
Okay, I would like to call Ambassador Charles.
Paul's luggage has finally arrived, but his dream of becoming one of the country's new power brokers isn't quite coming together.
Hello? Hello, Governor. Yeah, this is Paul Matar-Manyok.
My strategy is to talk with the recruiters. And if they think that I'm the right person for the job, then I'll be there for the Republic of South Sudan to help.
It's busy.
Making the right connection in Juba can be tricky.
If I get the job in Washington, D.C. or somewhere in London, that would be great. And I could call myself a quick learner. I can take to the job like duck into water.
All right.
With most government officials too busy preparing for independence, Paul has to make do with meeting one of the old-timers.
Igoni, Uncle Joseph Lago.
Welcome, young man.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Joseph Lagu was one of the original rebel leaders in the struggle for independence and still has the ear of the president.
How is life in Juba?
Well, life in Juba is good. It's colorful these days.
That's right.
It's not long before the would-be ambassador presents his credentials.
My name is Paul Matar-Manyok.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm one of the young men whom happen to be called the Lost Boys of Sudan.
Yes, from your name, you are from Bor, are you?
Yes, I'm from Bor, and I'm from the tribe called Awal.
Yes.
Awal is my uncle.
Ah, very good.
I went to school also in the United States. I graduated, and the aim of me coming here is to participate in the independent. With you being an advisor to the president,
yes,
I'm also looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
I think my services will be more needed here in South Sudan, in the new nation, where a lot of college graduates are pretty limited.
Yes.
And I'd be glad to help in any capacity, be it at diplomatic level,
yes,
or be it at whichever level that I could be posted.
With the job application not going as well as he hoped, Paul unveils his surprise package.
And if you won't mind, I can go ahead and open it and show you what the message is.
Yes, yes.
The gift for the president.
Here's the message. It says the message that it was put together by artist named John Kwal Makwach. And a man is there, cows in place. This picture was drawn from memory. There's a sign of peace there.
Yes. Ah, very good.
And he said, we have not forgotten our beautiful motherland. Yes.
This July 9th celebration for the independence of South Sudan is an endless sweet fruits for our generations and generations to come. The death of our beloved millions of heroes and heroines during the civil wars in the Sudan, led by Dr. John Garang Mobior, is now justified by achieving this independence and freedom for all the South Sudanese people.
This one, they are going that way and they are coming back this way.
Yes, right? No problem. So even if the civilian wants to march, they can go behind the fire brigade. No problem with that one. Okay, fine. We have got no problem. Malual, then tell them to go. Malual.
It's the final rehearsal for Independence Day, and Lam is having difficulty integrating his cultural performers into a military parade.
Go dance. Go that way. Go that way.
Lam is at a disadvantage, with few resources being allocated for his work.
Simon, where is the rest of the team? Tell them to go to Nyakuren. Tell them to go to Nyakuren. We're having the marching.
Unlike his countrymen in uniform. Spending on the armed forces accounts for 3 times the amount spent on health and education combined. A generation has grown up relying on the military for everything. But there are a few who are working to break this habit. Anna Hoth was a teacher in the refugee camps of Ethiopia and had to flee with the Lost Boys.
So this place used to be full of landmines, and a lot of people lost their lives here. And up to now, nobody's sure whether it's safe. You can see it's a bit deserted. It has to be demined, and how can you really demine it? It's bushy. A lot of trees have grown here, and some mines are carried up, have grown together with the tree. So they lost a lot of lives here. It's sad.
Anna's job is to turn Sudan's soldiers into useful citizens. She runs programs across the country encouraging former combatants to surrender their arms and retrain.
This is a training center, an old government training center. What you are seeing there are women combatants. They were trained for 3-4 months, and they've been operational. They've been stitching uniform for schools and get some income. So today we are going to give them gifts as they graduate.
In the war, only a few girls fled their villages alongside the Lost Boys. Most remained with their families, facing the risk of rape or enslavement at the hands of Arab militias. A significant number, like these women, chose to fight in the rebel army. Now they've been retrained as dressmakers. Today is graduation day.
Salam takum. Kwaisin? Ito mtanin waqf the jesh na khalas talam min jesh. I'm telling them, don't stand like soldiers, be civilian. Well, questions all bitala bara min jesh yalla beled tala khalas. Jesh zato bikudunak zikra. It's not easy to come out of the army. What I mean is, most of them would say, it's easy to get me out of the army, but it's not easy to get an army out of me.
And the first is Monica Saidia.
You know why? Mabruk.
The most important part of Anna's program is persuading soldiers to become farmers.
Something about this young generation who only know how to carry gun. They went through a trauma deeper than what you can imagine. They need to be handled with care. If we don't reintegrate them successfully, we'll have the challenge.
South Sudan has the climate and soil to become Africa's breadbasket, but only 4% of all arable land is cultivated here.
Carrots, cabbages, what are those? Cabbages? Our grandfathers for 1,000 years have been surviving on farming. And then we got disconnected somehow during the war, relying on relief food. We have to go back to farming and connecting back to normal life, getting independent by ourselves. And that's the only way to fight poverty. From army of war to an army of development.
This song says Africa is pregnant, the baby nation will be born along the Nile Valley. Yes, sir! Don't discourage Africa, I say. Africa is pregnant. You don't discourage Africa, I say. Africa is pregnant. Don't keep up with the tribal war. Can't solve the problem. You don't keep up with the tribal war. Can't solve the problem. Don't keep up pulling trigger. We lose lot of people.
After 24 long years, Kwalawan is almost home. But his village has changed beyond recognition. Soon after he fled in the 1980s, it was burnt to the ground. Only recently have the villagers returned to rebuild their homes.
Because, you see, it used to be a very close village with a lot of people, but look now. It's way, way different. Right? The way I left it is not the way it is, so it's more emotional than I thought.
One of the main reasons Kwal has returned here is to try and find his mother's grave, to pay his respects.
So,
he doesn't know how many other relatives survived, or if he'll recognize them. Word soon gets round, there's a stranger in the village.
This is one of my uncles, so I told you there are 4 of them that are still alive. She's my older uncle's wife. And, you know, and she was very close to my dad. So her house used to be here and our house used to be there. 27 years. It's been a long time. So it's a blessing to have. She's still alive. This thing made me very happy.
For Kwal's relatives, the lost boy is a returning hero. They had no idea whether he had survived the war or not. Now a new generation of young men tends the cattle. Few of Kwal's childhood friends made it through the war, casualties among the 2.5 million death toll.
Hello, Leng. Hi, where are you?
It's the eve of independence, and Lam is staging a warm-up event, a parade around Juba.
Who is leading us? Did you tell them? No, I told them the border, the one leading.
But it's behind schedule. The temperature is over 100 degrees and rising.
Let's go, guys! Guys, we're going. We're going. Slow down. Don't go too fast. I never believed it would be the way it is today. It took a lot of sleepless night for us, but now these are our days.
Lam's energy and optimism is partly driven by a strong desire to put the past behind him.
At the end of the day, or at the end of the tunnel, it's not only me who went through a lot of problems. There's a lot of people who went through a lot of problems. Death, trauma, everything. We're tired of being oppressed. We're tired of our dignity not being recognized. We still have a lot to do ahead to, show our joy to the world. We need to move on our own.
Paul has yet to find a vacancy in the diplomatic services. Time and money are running short. He too has family reunions to arrange, but he can't afford to travel outside the city. He's just got word that his aunt and brother are coming to Juba. It'll be the first time he's seen them since childhood.
Mama? Mama?
It's been 20 years since Paul had any contact with his extended family. They have much to catch up on. Qual is also trying to piece together his family history.
So this is my old home. I think, if I remember correctly, my mom was buried somewhere here. Because I think Blagata Tira, and then Guachi Gatan. So now go to somewhere and then we got that would caught in somewhere on that thing.
The past has been buried in the sand. Qual can't find any sign of his mother's last resting place.
It's long and it's really hard to kind of conceive how. Come where I used to play and where I used to play and see my family, but now nobody is here.
What? Oh, you don't want you don't want that. You want to what? Your coach? What you come?
One. Hello, go pin. Hello, Kachiran. A good team.
Siro.
I think I'm going to a child like a bun, quite cheap, a coy, Panam Dun, Chipping it up, one. Louis.
Palgati.
July the 9th, 6 a.m. The big day has finally arrived. For Paul, it's an occasion full of possibilities. He's managed to swing a guest pass and can network with the great and the good. Although the crowd doesn't recognize him, he enters like a seasoned diplomat.
South Sudan, very happy that I'm in a free nation. This will be the young baby that have just been born, number 193 in the world. It's a very exciting moment. My people are happy, and I'm happy with them. And also meeting my relatives, meeting my aunt, seeing her for the first time since 1987. It's a great day, and I'm very, very happy.
Never, 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 never.
Well, I think I can put in one word in excitement. You know, we've been waiting for this day to come. I feel like this is the end of the war, but at the same time it's the beginning of a hard work and a lot of work to make it a wonderful country in the world and peaceful and with a lot of prosperities. So I'm gonna join my cultural dance here and dance a little bit.
4 hours late, the formalities begin. Hundreds of foreign dignitaries have arrived from around the world.
Australia! Oceania!
Independence here is a triumph for them too. The international community has bankrolled the process of peace building. But unless the South Sudanese can break their habit of dependency on foreign aid, the world's newest state may well become a failed state.
We might be the youngest country in the whole world, but we have not taken being a victim of war as a scapegoat anymore. That freedom to be useful for us, we need to start working. The whole world will not give us aid. We will not survive on donation from the whole world every day. The end of the era is over from that night. And now it is time for the Southerners to wake up, start picking what you want to do, and start doing it.
For all the lost boys, those who left and those who stayed, this moment could mean they can leave the past behind. Perhaps today, like their countrymen, they are free at last.
Yeah, I feel like somebody has been away from home for a long time. I know there are a lot of things attached to it emotionally. It took me a long time. Here I am today.
The raising of the flag of South Sudan.
South Sudan
Okay. Naim.
Thank you and God bless you all.
And we're back in Africa for Jonathan Dimbleby's African Journey. That's here on BBC HD at 11 on Wednesday. Next this evening, though, we're into the kitchen with Raymond Blanc.